I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story about the skulls of Baba Yaga. These are the ones that she puts on her fence to ward off unwanted visitors. I always thought these were the skulls of her victims, or maybe even her enemies, but then I read the story of Baba Yaga and Zvorykin, and I think there's more to them that meets the eye. In the story collected by Alexander Afanasyev, the Russian counterpart to the Brothers Grimm, Zvorykin and his 40 brothers go on a journey to find someone to marry. Deciding they only wanted to marry sisters, they traveled far and wide until they ended up in front of a palace on a mountain surrounded by 41 iron columns, and I'm sure they thought the number was just a coincidence. This was the palace of Baba Yaga, and yes, in this version of the story she doesn't live in a hut in the woods, she lives in a white stone palace, and she seems to be a queen, maybe? It's not stated, but who else lives in a palace, right? Turns out she has just the right amount of daughters. And she brings them in, she gives them a meal, they talk, one thing leads to another, and they're all betrothed. Unfortunately, this is a story with Baba Yaga, and the heroes are never safe. Zvorykyn's magical horse warns him that Baba Yaga means to kill them, and that they should swap clothes with their betrothed before they go to bed. Later that night, Baba Yaga sends servants to dispatch them, and unfortunately they took the heads of her daughters. Zvorykin and his brothers take the heads, and as they flee, put them on top of the iron columns in front of the palace. And oh boy, when she finds out, she is furious. She takes a fiery shield and she chases after them, burning everything inside. Unfortunately, she is not able to catch up to them. I think that she was so distraught over the death of her daughters that she decided to leave the palace and move into a hut in the forest. But she kept the skulls of her daughters to remind her of her hatred of the wicked. In one of her most famous stories, Baba Yaga gives Vasilisa the Fair a skull with fire coming out of its eyes, which she uses to burn her stepmother and stepsister to a crisp, and in doing so perhaps quenching a morsel of Baba Yaga's fury.